Welcome back, movie lovers. I'm Josh.
And I'm Chris.
And with our powers combined, we are
Garner Brothers Movie Lovers.
Today we're talking Thor: Love and Thunder. It's Thor again. Finding himself again. This is the third out of 4 Thor movies where he was finding himself.
Of course, Chris Hemsworth is in this movie. Natalie Portman is back as Jane Foster. Tessa Thompson is back as Valkyrie. Christian Bale is Gore the God Butcher. Taika Waititi is back as Korg. Russell Crowe is in it for a minute. All the Guardians of the Galaxy are there at the beginning. The film was directed by Taika Waititi, and he also helped write the story. And the film is scored by Guns N' Roses.
Axl is even a character of the movie.
The score is actually composed by Michael Giacchino and Nami Melamed, whose name I'm almost certainly saying wrong. Michael Giacchino is the A-list composer. He wrote the score for Lightyear that just came out last week, and for Jurassic World Dominion that came out, 2 weeks before that or something, and for The Batman that came out earlier this year, and Spider-Man No Way Home that came out at the end of last year. Huge movies get scores by Michael Giacchino.
You said Star Wars and Star Trek as well?
He has also scored a Star Wars and a Star Trek film, and half of Pixar's latest movies are all Giacchino. And anyway, apparently everyone who's ever worked with him loves working with him because they all want him to come back.
So if it's not Hans Zimmer,
it's
Michael Giacchino.
Yeah, this is the first time he's had a co-composer credit on something, though. At the end of the movie it said, themes by Michael Giacchino, score by Michael Giacchino and Nami Melamed. So he probably wasn't quite as involved with this film as he has been with some of those others. She probably did a little more of the heavy lifting.
Some help.
Yeah.
Sounds like he's a busy boy.
Very. What did you like about the film?
Christian Bale is a very good villain. Genuinely freaky, and also you could sympathize with why he was doing what he was doing, and yeah, he was super freaky.
He is quite scary several times in this film. The way they shot and edited his character was very effective, and he steals every scene that he's in.
Yep, he does.
In fact, he has more of a character arc than anyone else in this film.
I liked what they did with Jane as well. Speaking of Natalie Portman as the mighty Thor, she, I feel like every single Thor fight is a big jump and a super smash. And it was every fight scene in this movie was a big jump and a super smash. There's a montage at the beginning where Thor's a little baby on a little backpack, and his mom does a big jump and a super smash. Later, Thor has a fight with the Muppets, and he does a big jump and a super smash. And then later, they fight the shadow monsters from Kingdom Hearts, and they big jump and they super smash. And then later they fight on Little Big Planet. And they big jump and they super smash. And then later, a bunch of little kids big jump and super smash. And that is every single time. Endgame, Ragnarok, that's it. That's what we get from Thor. But Natalie Portman with Mjolnir is pretty dang cool. I loved the way that Mjolnir could break apart, come back together again, and that ended up being an integral part of how they defeated the main villain at the end. And I thought that was some good writing and some interesting use of powers, which is clearly hard to do with Thor. So I appreciated that. Thought that was some good stuff. How about yourself?
It's funny.
It is funny.
Taika Waititi is funny. And there's a lot of humor in it. You wouldn't expect anything less from a Taika Waititi film. And it was funny. I laughed a lot of times.
I did too. It was funny. Maybe a little too funny.
There are a couple of the gags that are just redos of gags from the last Thor film. like the players that are doing a play. You know, it was really funny to see them in the third one. And this time it was like, ho, they're there again. I mean, it's a little bit less funny the second time.
Kind of like the screaming goat joke after the 100th time was not as funny. I loved those screaming goats so much at the beginning of that movie. They were so funny. And then about halfway through the movie, every time they would just go off the screen or onto the screen. I just got to the point where I was like, it had become this Pavlovian response of hatred. I just hear them. It was like, it's not funny anymore.
But I laughed every time those goats screamed. I will say that I don't think it was as funny as Thor Ragnarok.
I agree, and I think it's because not every single line of the movie needs to be a joke, but nearly every line of this movie is supposed to be a joke. There is some serious moments that are very good at the end, but man, there's some scenes with Christian Bale, especially at the very beginning of the movie.
Yeah.
But throughout the movie as well, where he is doing this thing that is very engaging and good. And then it will cut to some goofy god wearing a big crown who's just making funny faces at the camera. And Christian Bale's like, my family is all dead. And it's so dramatic. And then it cuts to this god who's like, I'm a god. And you're like, what are you doing? Taika Waititi is usually so good at balancing the zaniness and the seriousness, and it wasn't balanced well in this movie. It was it interrupted and ruined a lot of good stuff that was happening, and was overused just too much.
Well, I think both. So I agree with you very much on this. I thought the balance in Thor Ragnarok between comedy and gravitas was perfect. Some huge things happened in Thor Ragnarok. Very big deal things. And they were handled really well. And it was still funny. Not during those times, but like Taika Waititi typically is very good at balancing humor and emotion. But in this one, I felt like, it was too goofy for the serious parts. And the serious parts were too serious to have all those goofy parts. Like, the serious moments took me out of the movie because they were so sad, so serious. And the goofy moments took me out because they were so goofy.
So you're never actually in this movie. Yeah, you're always just sitting in the theater going, this movie's weird.
Well, I heard him in an interview talking about how they basically just did everything they thought of. Like, any crazy thing that they thought of at any point, put it in the movie. Like, every weird idea. Let's have an animated dumpling god. Put that in there.
Yeah, that whole sequence in that place was very much the Master Builder scene from the Lego movie.
Oh, it really was.
And it belongs in the Lego movie. It's an animated children's movie about Lego figurines. But the dumpling god and that weird head
with feet
and just some weird perverted Zeus, like all of that was just like, that whole sequence in the clouds was so dumb. I hated it so much. And it was all to get that stupid lightning bolt from Zeus. Are you kidding me? You have Mjolnir and you have Stormbreaker forged from the flames of a dying star. But you're gonna fight the bad guy with this plastic toy you can buy from Disneyland for $80.
I think if you go into the film expecting a pretty
Phase 4 lukewarm piece of crap Marvel movie, then you'll be fine.
It's a lot more fun than
It's
the other.
True. It's been more fun than the Eternals.
Like, the Eternals wasn't
Doctor
fun. Doctor Strange
Strange
wasn't fun.
Or Moon Knight, or Loki, or anything else that's been made in this phase.
So there was a lot of fun to be had in this, but that's it. If you go expecting a fun movie, you'll get that. Although it's a little too serious sometimes to really be a fun movie, but a lot of it is very fun. But that's basically what I have in its favor. And for me, in this particular movie, that was enough. That's what I wanted, and that's what I got. But it has problems. And Josh has made a list of them, and he will now tell you
well,
all
we've
of
already
those.
talked about some of them. In my defense, I did not make this list intending for it to be all things that I didn't like about the movie. It was just things I wanted to talk about. And it quickly became a list of things I didn't like about the movie. Thor is... he used to be a different character than he is now. Thor was a powerful warrior. He was very, he had a big ego. And he had to temper that in the first movie. And then he was like, in the second one, like the stoic warrior. What? He is not that. He is now the biggest doofus in the entire galaxy. And that's his character. It's just him being a big oaf all the time. And I discovered that there were moments, even in the first movie, where he was a big oaf. But I liked it. And it made sense because he was from a place where magic just does things for you. When he comes to Earth, he's ignorant to everything. So there's a moment in the movie where he sees a vending machine and he breaks the glass and pulls all the crap out. And he's like, "Some idiot made a fridge without a handle, so I fixed it and I got you a bunch of candy." And he's talking about how the chemotherapy is potions and magic elixirs and stuff. And like, he's a big dummy, but that's just because he's unfamiliar with everything. But then there's moments where he's talking to his own people and trying to like be Thor, but it's just him being an idiot all the time. That's him all the time. He's just a big idiot now. And I don't like him anymore. He's nothing more but the butt of a joke now. And just sad.
This movie suffers from the same problem that every Phase 4 film and TV show has suffered from, with the exception of Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness being a major continuation of the WandaVision series. None of these films or TV series seems to be affecting any of the others. Even Ragnarok, which was a good standalone film, still felt tied into other things happening in the MCU. Ragnarok also had a better beginning, middle, and end than this movie did. This movie feels like, basically, this movie is a fetch quest. We have to go here to get this thing, and then we have to go here to save these people. And that was basically the whole movie. But Ragnarok had a much more detailed story and really, a plot that let you really dive into characters and things like that. That didn't happen a whole lot with this one.
I feel like the Guardians of the Galaxy were wasted at the end of Endgame when he calls them the Asgardians of the Galaxy. I was like, oh, I cannot wait for an Asgardians of the Galaxy movie. That's an awesome idea. It wasn't. Because it didn't happen. It was a montage at the beginning of the movie. And it was mostly just, that was kind of fun, which is how the whole movie feels. A little bit of Korg goes a long way.
I kept waiting for him to give his speech at some point like, "Hey guys, we're going to go do this thing over here and then we're going to do this. Want to come?" Yeah,
that would have been really good. They didn't do that.
No.
Yeah, no, most of him is just narrating in this movie, and it's not good. And
I didn't mind the narration. I liked his first
narrating.
Liked his first narration. I thought it was kind of fun. I kind of liked the black and white place.
Yeah, that was cool. It's pretty cool. Made for some really cool visual effects, actually.
Yeah.
That whole fight was
one of the highlights of the film.
Yeah, actually, that fight was pretty dang awesome. But yeah, I don't know why the gods had to be so stupid. I talked about this a little bit already, but you could have made the gods better. You could have made them these super powerful things that thought they were better than everyone else and weren't just a cartoon. It was so dumb. Good, fine, bad. Here we go.
I'm gonna say it was fine leading to good for me.
Well, that's great. This was a big, huge crap fire of stupid poop bad. I hate this movie. There's a scene in this movie where Thor gives his powers to a group of 30 little children. And they take on the shadow monsters like it was nothing. That was so stupid. Can you imagine? Would have been convenient. Maybe if he could have given his whole powers to everyone in Infinity War, and they could have destroyed everyone easily, but they didn't. And they did have one person do that in Endgame, and it was the coolest moment of all of the MCU. And now, 30 children have done it too, so who cares? You just ruined the coolest part of the MCU in this movie. I hate Phase 4. I hate it so bad. I just want it to be over. Gah! Make the X-Men, Kevin Feige. Care about movies, Kevin Feige. Gore the God Killer, by the way, will not kill anyone important, but you'll think he killed 4 people that are important, which almost makes him scary.
Well, he's plenty scary, plenty of times.
He's
in the
pretty
film.
scary, but
he can't kill any of the main people.
yeah, and not even there's even characters who aren't very main, who they just like. Civ is in the movie, and she's like, Gore the God Butcher, he's killing me, and you're like, oh wow, they're gonna kill Civ, that's great. Nah, she just lost her arm, she's fine, we're good. Korg, oh my gosh, she killed Korg, can you believe it? No, now he's just a face. He's just a face that you can tie to the back of your head so it looks like he has a mustache. And then he can make funny jokes while you're fighting. Oh, look, I've got a funny mustache. Look at me. Do you get the joke? Even characters that don't matter at all, that are just there to be funny, like Russell Crowe's character, die in the movie by getting shot right through the heart by his own lightning bolt. But he's okay. He just has some girls put some black goo in there, and he's fine. And who else? Valkyrie also could have been killed by him, but wasn't. Just, he's not that much of a god killer. He kills gods that you don't care about, that nobody knows about.
He kills gods off screen. Ones
Pretty
you've
much.
never heard of.
He kills one that is so stupid that like just any of the Avengers in any of the movies. Yeah, everyone dies in this movie, and then they come back to life later. Also, I didn't include that maybe happened to Jane.
It's a little unclear based on the post-credits scene, but I think the post-credits scene, I mean, that was Valhalla, right? Heimdall was there.
But why would they put that in there unless they were planning on using these people for something in the future? So, are they dead? Guess not. Thanks for watching, everyone. We'll see you later when we come back and do this again.
Ciao.
Bye.
If we don't see you in the future, see you in the pasture.